Jake Harrison's corner office on the 32nd floor of Wall Street gave him a hawk's eye view of the city he'd helped build. 20 years of structural engineering had wired his brain to spot flaws, and lately, the bedrock of his own life was showing hairline fractures. He flicked through Jessica's Amex statements, his gut tightening with each swipe. Business lunches at Per Se and the Grill. $300 for lunch. Even for client schmoozing, that was pushing it. Jessica, meticulous Jessica, who tracked every paperclip for a high-powered PR firm. "Mr. Harrison." His assistant's voice buzzed through the intercom. "Contractors from the Hudson Yards site are here. Send them in." Jake minimized the browser, his face a mask as 3 guys in hard hats shuffled in, led by a nervous foreman named Sal DeMarco. "We, had to make some adjustments to the plans," Sal mumbled, papers trembling in his hands. Jake leaned back, his gaze laser-focused. "Adjustments that tacked on 50 grand to my budget? Material costs, they've gone up. And with the specs Mr. Klein gave us." "David Klein?" Jake cut him off, his voice low and dangerous. David Klein was a real estate broker. "He doesn't dictate structural specs. That's my domain." The meeting dissolved in mumbled promises of revised quotes, but Jake had seen enough. Shortcuts. This was the 3rd time in a month. Klein's trusted team was cutting corners that could compromise the entire building. Integrity. It was everything to Jake, in steel and in life. That evening, ditching his usual commute to their Tribeca loft, Jake pointed his car uptown. "Emergency with the Sterling account," Jessica's text had pinged. "Don't wait up, babe. XOXO." The loft felt different now, colder somehow. Every room echoed with memories, but were they real? Had Jessica been playing him all along? Her sudden obsession with redecorating, was that staging for someone else's life? In his home office, Jake tackled the Everest of paperwork he'd been avoiding. Decades of blueprints, stress calculations, building codes. Jessica had been oddly insistent about clearing the clutter, especially after hiring that organizer last month. His fingers brushed against something solid tucked behind a stack of engineering journals. Leather-bound. No title. Not one of his. Jessica's diary. She always kept her current one locked in her bedside table, a ritual as ingrained as her morning Pilates. Finding an old one, buried amongst his college yearbooks, felt like spotting a critical load-bearing error in a skyscraper's design. The first entries were saccharine sweet. September 15th, 2020. Jake surprised me with Hamilton tickets tonight. Still can't believe how lucky I am. He's always thinking ahead, planning our future. Most guys would have blown their inheritance, but Jake's investing it in our dreams. Jake's jaw tightened. Inheritance. His grandfather's legacy, funding their life, their dreams. Then the shift, 2 years ago. April 15th, 2022. First meeting with David Klein about Hampton's properties. Today was different. Everything Jake isn't. Spontaneous, passionate, alive. When he showed me the beachfront listings, his hand brushed mine, and I felt more in that moment than I have in years of Jake's careful planning. The entries became a torrent. May 3rd, 2022. David gets me, in ways Jake never will. Lunch at Per Se today, private room. We talked for hours. Dreams. Escape. He says I'm wasting my talent playing Stepford wife. With my PR skills and his real estate empire, we could be unstoppable. June 20th, 2022. David's place in Montauk is perfect for meetings. He's so good at keeping our secret. Says Jake's too rigid, too chained to his career. The beach house is our sanctuary. David brings champagne. We watch the sunset, plan our future. Jake's knuckles whitened as he devoured the entries. Weekend getaways disguised as client emergencies. Elaborate schemes orchestrated with Jessica's sister Chloe. August 12th, 2023. Chloe is a saint. She's documenting everything for the divorce. Every late night at Jake's office, every conversation about money. Spinning it perfectly. Jake, the controlling husband, obsessed with his work, financially abusive. Being a junior partner at Kramer and Hill gives her access to the best divorce lawyers in the city. Mark, Jake's old college buddy, is a senior partner there. The irony of him unknowingly helping build our case? Delicious. The next entry froze his blood. March 1st, 2024. The Hamptons house is our miracle. Jake thinks he's building our dream home, using his inheritance, his savings, to create $1 million anniversary surprise. He has no idea he's financing our escape. David already has buyers lined up for his penthouse, and Chloe's handling the paperwork. The contractors are skimming extra, padding our getaway fund. Just a few more months of playing the devoted wife. A knock on the office door. "Yo, Jake. Thought I'd see how the house plans are coming." Mark Olson, restaurant mogul, confident in his bespoke suit. 15 years of friendship. Through thick and thin. Divorces, bankruptcies, family tragedies. And now this. Perfect timing indeed. "Mark," Jake said, his voice flat, gesturing to a chair. "Just reviewing contractor quotes. You recommended DeMarco, right?" Mark settled in, loosening his tie. "Yeah, Sal's solid. Everything kosher?" "Interesting choice of words." Jake's voice remained neutral. "Support beam specs seem creative. Construction costs are insane these days, huh?" Mark shrugged, but his eyes flicked to the diary on Jake's desk. "Jessica mentioned you've been burning the midnight oil. Thought you could use a break. My place in Montauk is always open." "Generous." Jake let the silence hang heavy. "Been getting a lot of use lately, I hear." A flicker of unease crossed Mark's face. "Regular maintenance, you know. Old properties." "Right." Jake stood walking to the window, Wall Street sprawling beneath them. "Foundations are crucial, Mark. One crack, one weakness, everything can collapse." Mark made a hasty exit, his usual swagger noticeably absent. That evening, Chloe hosted a promotion party at a trendy Italian place in Soho. Junior partner at Kramer and Hill. Jake watched the charade unfold. Chloe, radiant in designer black, subtly documenting every time he checked his phone. "Jake, you must be so proud of the Hamptons house," she purred. "Such a huge investment. Jessica says you've been meticulous about the budget." Jessica touched his arm. Practiced concern etched on her face. "Honey, you've barely touched your wine. Everything okay at work?" He watched her hand brush David Klein's as she reached for her glass. The quick, charged glance. Klein had materialized halfway through dinner, claiming he was just dropping off some documents. His tan looked suspiciously fresh. Montauk weekend, the PR conference Jessica had mentioned. "Everything's fine," Jake said, raising his glass. "Just thinking about the future, to new beginnings." They all clinked glasses, oblivious to the ice in his smile, the steel in his eyes. The diary in his briefcase held their secrets, their treachery. But Jake Harrison held something far more potent. The element of surprise. Later, after Jessica's predictable Sterling account emergency and rushed exit, Jake made 2 calls. First to Sarah Chen, a forensic accountant he'd worked with on construction fraud cases. Second, to Ben Carter, his MIT roommate, now a cybersecurity titan. The game was afoot. Jessica, David, Chloe, Mark. They'd built their web of deceit, assuming Jake was too trusting, too consumed by blueprints to notice the cracks in their perfect plan. Their fatal flaw? Underestimating an engineer who knew how to dismantle a structure, brick by treacherous brick. Jake stared out at the city lights, his reflection hard against the glass. Tomorrow, the demolition would begin. Tonight, he'd play his part. After all, Jessica wasn't the only one who knew how to put on a show. Sarah Chen's office, overlooking the East River, was all sharp angles and minimalist chic, mirroring her razor-sharp approach to numbers. Spread across her glass desk, Jessica's financial records painted a damning picture. They weren't even trying to be subtle, Sarah said, her voice dry. Your wife's been bleeding you dry through a series of phantom PR expenses. Look at these event planning charges from Olson's restaurants. Jake leaned in, his gaze tracing the highlighted entries. Olson? Mark? Bingo. Nearly $250,000 funneled into a private account over the last 18 months. Sarah tapped the screen. Olson's restaurants are the conduit. Every corporate event is just a money laundering scheme. Basic, really. I'm almost insulted by how blatant it is. Show me everything. Sarah conjured detailed spreadsheets on her monitor. Monthly transfers, all just under the reporting threshold. PR firm books show legit-looking expenses, event planning, client entertainment, venue rental, but cross-reference them with Olson's restaurant records. She clicked through document after document. No actual events, just paper trails and fake invoices, documentation for days. Here, she slid a USB drive across the desk. Legally obtained. Admissible. I've flagged the most egregious violations. The IRS will have a field day with how Olson's been reporting these events. Jake pocketed the drive. Construction payments? Now that's where it gets juicy. Sarah pulled up another file. Your contractors? Overcharging by about 50%. The excess gets split. Half to an account controlled by David Klein, half to shell companies. Classic kickback scheme. As Jake drove to his next appointment, his phone buzzed. Jessica. Speakerphone. Honey, Chloe's throwing a surprise party for Mark next month. Can you transfer $15,000 to our joint account? I want to chip in, since he's been such a good friend. Jake's grip tightened on the wheel. $15,000 for a party? $15,000 for Mark? Well, you know Mark. Only the best. And after everything he's done for us. Of course, Jake said, his voice carefully neutral. I'll take care of it. Ben Carter's cybersecurity firm occupied a converted warehouse in Brooklyn, all exposed brick and blinking servers. His MIT roommate had morphed from dorm room hacker to digital security guru. You're not gonna like this, Ben said, leading Jake into a secure room. Your wife? Busy bee. Separate email account. Encrypted messaging. Detailed inventory of your assets. He brought up screenshots on a massive monitor. She's been sharing everything with Klein. Bank statements, investment portfolios, property valuations. Spreadsheets tracking your work schedule, travel, even your gym routine. Show me. Ben opened file after file. Emails, texts, shared documents. They've been at this for years. Jessica's been photographing financial documents, sending them to Klein through encrypted channels. It's a gold mine. Chloe's involvement? That's the real kicker. Ben grinned, a predator sighting prey. Found these in Jessica's cloud storage. He pulled up another folder. Chloe's been building a divorce case against you for months. Look at these incident reports. He scrolled through pages of meticulously documented notes. Normal conversations twisted into controlling behavior. Routine financial discussions painted as abuse. Witness statements from Olson about your aggressive behavior at his restaurant. Alleged arguments about money. Accusations of financial control. All carefully dated, documented, and completely fabricated. Can you access Klein's professional records? Ben's grin widened. Already did. Found some interesting communications with those contractors. Also discovered he's been using his firm's client database to scout out properties for their little empire. Highly illegal. Everything documented. Completely. All obtained through legal channels. Shared accounts. Joint devices. Cloud storage. Nothing can be challenged in court or sent to regulatory bodies. The next week was a blur of data compilation. Jake built dossiers on Klein's ethical breaches, undervalued property comparisons, contractor kickbacks, misuse of client data. Each allegation meticulously documented, every claim backed by irrefutable proof. One morning, Jessica mentioned a client meltdown, requiring her immediate presence downtown. Jake tracked her phone. Not downtown. Montauk. Olson's beach house. Restaurant security cameras, courtesy of Ben's back channels and Jake's forgotten partial ownership. Confirmed it. David Klein arriving hours later. Champagne on the deck. Fake event planning receipts materializing. That afternoon, Jake dropped anonymous reports on the desks of the State Real Estate Board and Klein's firm's Ethics Committee. He attached proof of the contractor fraud to the State Contractors Board. Chloe made her move a week later. Lunch? Just sister-in-law to brother-in-law. Jake met her at a power lunch spot in Midtown. Chloe, as your brother-in-law and a lawyer, I feel obligated to address some patterns I've noticed, she began. Practiced concern, dripping from every syllable. Almost convincing. Jake hit record on his phone. Public place. Legal. Patterns? Incidents. Jessica's mentioned feeling financially suffocated. And Mark told me about some concerning behavior at his restaurant. Really? Like the incident reports you've been fabricating? Or the witness statements you've been collecting from Mark about events that never happened? Chloe's lawyerly mask cracked. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. Jake slid a folder across the table. Copies of everything. Your detailed reports, your carefully crafted narrative. Your communications with Jessica about building a divorce case. Fascinating reading. Those are privileged documents. Not when they're fabricated evidence, stored on shared cloud accounts. Jake's smile was glacial. How do you think Kramer and Hill would react to proof their newest junior partner is manufacturing false evidence? How would the Bar Association view that? Chloe paled. You wouldn't dare. Already have. Jake stood. Mark received copies this morning. He's probably reviewing them right now, deciding between protecting you and protecting his firm's reputation. Her phone buzzed. Mark's name flashed across the screen. Jake left her staring at it, her carefully constructed future imploding. That evening, Jessica was unnervingly solicitous. You seem tense, honey. Hampton's project stressing you? Just thinking about the future, Jake replied, watching her thumb dance across her phone, texting Klein under the table. Everything will work out perfectly, she said, her smile brittle. Trust me. Jake did trust her. Trusted her complete inability to fathom him as anything but the predictable, trusting husband she'd married. Her fatal flaw wasn't her infidelity or her greed. It was her arrogance, her absolute certainty she was the smartest one in the room. The next day, Kramer and Hill called an emergency partner meeting. Chloe sat in the mahogany-paneled conference room, her career dissolving as senior partners reviewed the evidence. Mistake. Out of context, she protested weakly. No context justifies fabricating evidence, Mark said, his voice cold. The Bar Association has been notified. Clean out your office. David Klein was having an equally catastrophic day. His firm's ethics committee had summoned him for an emergency review. The evidence was overwhelming. Property manipulation, contractor kickbacks, client data theft. Ridiculous, he blustered. I'm your top agent. Not anymore, his manager retorted, sliding suspension papers across the table. State board's investigating. We're cutting ties. Olson's Restaurants received a visit from the IRS. The fake event planning payments had raised red flags. His meticulously cooked books were about to be flambéed. Jessica remained blissfully unaware, still picturing her Hampton sunset escape. She didn't see Jake methodically documenting her financial betrayals, didn't realize every move was being tracked, every transaction logged. Their game of deception was ending, but only one player knew the score. Jake sat in his office, Sarah Chen's final report in hand. Every piece in place, financial records, digital evidence, legal documentation. Jessica and her co-conspirators had built their scheme on the assumption he was too trusting, too conventional to fight back. They'd underestimated him, massively. Their mistake wasn't just betrayal. It was underestimating the man they betrayed. Jake closed the report, picked up his phone. Time for the final act. Jessica wanted an escape plan. He'd give her one. Just not the one she expected. The dismantling was complete. Now, execution. Jake Harrison sat in Richard Holbrook's corner suite, panoramic views of Wall Street mirroring his own. Morning sun glinted off the skyscrapers where this whole mess had started. They reviewed the final moves. Everything's locked and loaded, Richard said, spreading documents across his mahogany desk. Timing is everything. Walk me through it again. Richard tapped his monitor. Protected assets are bulletproof. The Harrison Family Trust, ironclad. Jessica can't touch it. We've documented every instance of financial infidelity, including the $250,000 she siphoned through Olson's Restaurants. Hampton's property? Wei Yong is ready. His firm specializes in discreet real estate acquisitions. Paperwork's prepped. Give the word, we close within hours. Jake nodded. Phoenix Foundation articles of incorporation filed. Done. Supporting survivors of financial infidelity. Press releases ready, emphasizing the anonymous donor's personal experience with spousal betrayal and financial fraud. Local media's salivating. Human interest gold. Richard slid another folder across the desk. Divorce papers finalized. Want to reread the note? No need. Jake stood, straightening his tie. Showtime. Next morning, Jake met Wei Yong at the property registry office. Jessica was at a PR firm board meeting. Perfect alibi for what was coming. Wei Yong's handshake was firm, his smile knowing. Funds are wired. My clients value discretion. Within 2 hours, the Hamptons' house had new owners. $100,000 profit landed in Jake's private account, the Phoenix Foundation receiving an anonymous donation matching Jessica's supposed share. Jake's phone buzzed. Klein. Voicemail. Jake smiled, picturing Klein's panic when he checked property records and found his escape hatch slammed shut. Phase 2 commenced. At the State Real Estate Board, Jake watched from across the street as Klein emerged, face ashen. A local reporter pounced, camera rolling. "Mr. Klein, any comment on the allegations of ethical violations and fraud?" Klein shoved past, but the damage was done. By evening, his suspension was public. A decade building a luxury real estate empire in New York, pulverized in a day. At Olson's restaurant, IRS agents descended. Jake watched via security cams as they grilled staff about phantom events. "Mr. Olson," one agent said, "explain these payments for corporate events. We can't find corresponding bookings." Olson's smooth veneer cracked. "Must be a mistake." $250,000 worth of mistakes. Jessica's meticulously crafted exit strategy was unraveling, thread by thread. Her hidden accounts frozen, pending investigation. Chloe's career in ruins. Olson's restaurants under siege. Jake's phone buzzed. "Jessica. Honey, something's wrong. Our accounts frozen. Can't access. What's happening?" "Strange," Jake said, voice neutral. "Checked with the bank? They're saying fraud investigation. And David isn't answering. What's going on, Jake?" "Must be stressful, like, say, planning a secret divorce or having an affair." Silence. Then Jessica's PR-trained voice wavering. "Jake, I can explain." "Save it for your crisis management team. Oh, wait. Aren't you on indefinite leave?" He hung up, nodding to Richard. Final move. Precisely 2 p.m., a courier entered Jessica's PR firm, divorce papers, and a sealed envelope in hand. Jake watched on lobby security feed as Jessica received them, her carefully constructed composure crumbling as she read his note. Surprise. Found a better retirement plan. Attached, copies of her diary, financial records, every documented betrayal. Phones rang. Phoenix Foundation launch. Local media frenzy. Prominent PR executive in financial fraud scandal. Her firm's reputation cratering. Jessica bolted from the office. Home, expecting confrontation. Instead, empty loft, her belongings, and meticulously organized evidence of her deceit. Bank statements, Montauk photos, Klein emails. Every drawer, every shelf, a testament to her treachery. Jake watched from his hotel suite as Jessica emerged hours later, mascara streaked, world shattered. His phone buzzed. Jessica, Klein, Olson, blocked. Each number methodically, like removing compromised supports from a collapsing structure. Local news led with Klein suspension. Phoenix Foundation launch. First workshop already oversubscribed. Identifying financial infidelity. Speaker, prominent divorce attorney. Next day, Jessica's firm announced indefinite leave for personal matters. Irony. PR exec unable to manage her own PR disaster. That evening, Jake sat in Richard's office surveying the wreckage. Jessica's world, incinerated in 48 hours. No house, no hidden funds, no lover, no escape. Klein facing professional annihilation. Olson's restaurants and IRS crosshairs. Chloe's legal career DOA. Ready for Phase 3? Richard asked. No Phase 3. Jake stood. Don't need to watch them suffer. Just needed them to lose everything they tried to steal. He walked away, leaving their ruined lives behind, their desperate calls unanswered. They'd thought him a fool, too trusting. Instead, they'd learned too late, trust, once broken, becomes a weapon. 3 days later, snow falling outside his mountain resort window. Jake checked his phone. One new message. Claire Richardson, award-winning architect, sustainable luxury. Heard about your renovation work. Collaboration? Jake smiled, not replying yet. Time. He had time now. Time to build something real, something stronger. From the ashes of betrayal, the diary lay in his safe, no longer a record of pain. A reminder. Endings. Just beginnings in disguise. Jessica, David, Chloe, Mark. They'd gambled everything on his blind trust, lost everything to his calculated justice. Sometimes, Jake reflected, perfect revenge wasn't getting even. It was getting ahead, turning betrayal into triumph. His new life? No Hamptons mansions, no elaborate escape hatches, built on something far more valuable. He hadn't just survived their betrayal, he'd weaponized it. The mountain cabin's great room, panoramic vista of snow-dusted peaks, late autumn sun slanting across Jake Harrison's drafting table. Modest 3-bedroom structure, light years from the gaudy Hamptons house. Every beam, every angle, precision engineered. Not a monument to wealth, but to integrity. Passive solar integration is remarkable, Claire Richardson said, studying blueprints for their latest project. Award-winning architect. Reached out 6 months ago, intrigued by his renovation work. Engineers focus structure, ignore environment, Claire observed. Architects' aesthetics, overlook structure, Jake countered. A knowing smile from Claire. Their collaboration, professional, then personal, built on respect, honesty, a welcome contrast. Diary in the safe, not bitterness. Insurance. Jessica tried rehab. Chicago crisis management firm. Victim narrative. Controlling husband. Diary entries, financial records, nuked that spin. Chicago wasn't escape. Retreat. PR career. Fortune 500 crisis manager, now mid-tier social media wrangler. Scandal clung. Clients questioned hiring a PR exec who couldn't manage her own PR nightmare. Klein's fall steeper. Luxury Boston real estate kingpin to Florida. Timeshare hustler. Designer suits swapped for polyester. License suspended. Industry publications chronicled his demise. Selling fractional ownership in aging beachfront condos. Olson sold restaurants. 60% loss. IRS audit. Beyond fake events. Years of creative accounting. Plea deal. Avoided jail. Boston restaurant scene scorched earth. Last heard. Managing suburban New Jersey steakhouse chain. Chloe's legal career vaporized. No firm touched her. Ethics violations. Bar Association insured Massachusetts lawyer license never materialized. Back to parents in Connecticut. Paralegal in small-town practice. Light years from Kramer and Hill ambitions. Mark, reported Chloe, made senior managing partner at Kramer and Hill. Integrity over loyalty. Friendship with Jake. stronger for the storm, occasional lunches. Sarah Chen's forensic accounting practice boomed. Jessica's financial schemes, amateurish but excellent teaching material. Phoenix Foundation workshop speaker. Spotting financial infidelity. Ben Carter's cybersecurity firm, high-profile contracts. Digital evidence in Jake's case, legal discovery case study. Boston office opened. Jake, first client. Phoenix Foundation, beyond expectations. Workshops packed. New England attendees. Jake's anonymous donations. Grown funding research into financial deception. Families helped. Schemes stopped. Contractors and clients kickback scheme. Licenses revoked. Construction industry, tight-knit, reputations ruined. New England work vanished. Jake's collaboration with Claire. 3 projects. Sustainable luxury. Relationship, professional to personal. Transparency, shared values. Unlike Jessica's calculated affection, Claire, honest, beauty and authenticity. Mountain cabin, smaller than Hampton's house, far richer. Peace, mortgage-free, true security, not escape plans, hidden accounts, but solid foundations. Valley view, past years' transformations. Jessica, David, Chloe, Mark, gambled on perfect escape. Victim, too trusting to fight. Betrayal freed him. Scattered lives, ruined reputations. He built anew, life anchored in honesty. Diary, safe. Endings, disguised beginnings. Not just survived betrayal, thrived. New life, no escape plans, hidden agendas, built on something far more valuable. Best revenge, not destruction, creation. Cabin deck, horizon endless, clear, unmarred by lies. True wealth, not square footage, account balances, but sleep, sound, unburdened. Jessica, conspirators, tried to steal retirement dream. Gave him priceless gift. Chance to build better one.